Hi everyone. Okay, I'm still in the process of building my wardrobe and I wanted to make something beautiful, comfortable, and a little different from my holiday. So I decided to make this one. This is the dress right here. This dress is so beautiful and it turns out amazing. I absolutely love it. This was basically my Christmas dress. So I'm going to show you an illustration of how I came up with the pattern. I had already drafted my pattern and I'm also going to show you the actual pattern. So what do you need? What are the requirements for drafting your pattern? You need your pattern paper, your ruler, your eraser, and you can also use a tracing wheel. And of course, you need your foundation dress block pattern. I already have a tutorial. I have a lot of videos on how to draft your foundation dress block pattern, so you can just go watch those videos if you need to. So first, I started with my basic dress block pattern. I traced that out and I reduced the neckline to 1 inch because I wanted the neck depth to be 1 inch. Then I adjusted the armhole and added a little bit of ease. After that, I made the dress an A-line because I wanted it to have that nice flowy feel. I started by drafting the back pattern first. So you can start by drafting the back pattern and then trace it to get your front pattern. Like I said, you can basically use just one pattern. Draft your back pattern, cut it out, cut your fabric, and then adjust that same black back pattern to create different look. I do that all the time. This is actually how I like to draft my pattern now because no stress at all. Now for the front pattern, this is where all the design details are. I reduced my front neckline to 1 inch and erase some of the other lines. Then just underneath the neckline, I marked 1/4 of an inch. This is where I was going to insert the rope. For the armhole, I measured 8.5 inches down for the shoulder and then I created a curve to connect the two marks. And honestly, that is basically it. Those are the main details, nothing special. Okay, everything is special, but those are basically the main details that makes the dress unique and fabulous and attractive. Then I went ahead and drafted my v-neck line, creating that plunging v-neck shape. After creating the neckline, I cut out the shape to create my slash and spread line. I simply drew my slash and spread line and numbered them. Also, I drew a line across just to align them properly. And yeah, as you can see, I'm just alternating between my main pattern and the illustration so you can see exactly what I'm doing and how my actual pattern looks like. Now, when it comes to the spreading, you can spread it depending on how much fabric you have and how full you want the gathers to be. You can spread it 1 inch apart, 2 inches apart, or even more. It's really just depends on the look you want and the type of fabric you're working with. Before cutting my fabric, I just wanted to mention something about the sleeve. While creating your buttocks block, you also need to create your sleeve pattern, and you will need four sleeve pieces, two for the actual sleeve and two for the facing. So after cutting everything out, it was finally time to sew. I started with the front because I wanted to join all the pieces together. First, I attached the facing for the V neckline. I pinned it, stitched it, clipped the similar ones, turn it over, and then top stitch it. After that, I press it to keep everything nice and flat. Next, I created the rope for the neckline. I stitched it, turned it over, and then pressed it well. Next, it was time to create the gathering. For the gathering, I turned my dial to 4 just to make the stitch a bit loose. Then I stitched at the top. After stitching, I pulled the thread to create the gathering. I've always done my gathering this way because honestly, I have the gathering fruit, but I've never really put my mind to learning how to use it properly. Maybe one day I will. So next was creating the top part, which is the main neckline. The first step was attaching the facing for the front neckline. I pinned it, stitched it, and then top stitched it. Now, to place the bottom part of the top, I had to mark where I wanted it to sit. I wanted to move it slightly inside to make that V-neck more visible. You can use the neckline and shoulder of the dress as starting point to align it, or you can just go further down and use the same measurement I use, which you can see on the screen. Next, I pinned the bottom pieces of the front together. I made sure everything was properly aligned, and I also adjusted the gathers so everything sit nicely. Then I pinned everything in place. And of course, I had to hand stitch it first because I wanted to I wanted it to stay exactly where I put it. I didn't want anything moving around while I was sewing. Honestly, I have started using needle and thread more often just to hold things in place. I didn't want to sew something 200 times. So yeah, then I stitched everything properly, turned it over, and that was it. And after stitching the front, that was basically everything for the front. Honestly, this was the difficult part of the dress. Attaching all those pieces together. It was how many pieces? I think it was one, two, three, four, five. I think it was seven pieces for for the front. So once you've attached those seven pieces, the hardest part is done. Next, we move to the back. Stitching. No, for the back, I started by attaching the facing. I first locked the raw edge, then pin it round. And I also used my label because I really wanted everything I make to look professionally put together. So I added my label, stitch everything, and then top stitch it. Next, I attach the shoulders and pin and then stitch. And then it was time for the sleeve. Earlier, I mentioned that you need four sleeve pieces because two are for the main sleeve and the other two are for the facing. For the sleeve, I basically folded it and cut through the center until I got the slit length I wanted. I didn't really measure it precisely, I just knew I wanted it to come around my elbow, so I cut it up to where my elbow was. Then I pinned everything around the open side and the bottom of the sleeve, just like you can see here. And next, I attach the sleeves to the dress. Once I was done attaching the sleeves, I pinned the side seams and stitched them. Then I locked all the rough edges. And while I was locking the rough edges of the side seam, I also locked the hem, that's the bottom of the dress. So next was hemming. After hemming the bottom of the dress, it was finally time to try it on. And when I wore it, it was breathtakingly refreshing. And I absolutely rocked my holiday in this dress. My holiday was fabulous. The dress was flowy, elegant, beautiful, just all the right adjective. It was honestly amazing and I absolutely love it. And yeah, this is how I made my holiday dress. I hope you enjoy watching me make it as much as I enjoy making it. And if you love this dress, let me know what you think about it in the comments. I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.